Hi Samira, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jamie. It's great to be here.
When did power banks for smartphones become a thing? It's a product and market that's been born simply because our phone batteries can't handle the increased amount that we're using our smartphones, as well as the applications on them zapping more power, with the biggest culprit, of course, being artificial intelligence. Well, this is a problem that today's guest is tackling. Samira Naraghi joins me, who's the Senior Vice President of Product and Sales at Enovix. Now, Enovix's technologies will be compatible to many different applications, but consumer electronics and smartphones is a particular focus of theirs. So Samira and I talk about the current trends in this space, we talk about their technologies, and also what the future holds. We also talk about how Samira's been able to build high-performing teams over the years, and to do so, which characteristics are essential. Finally, we talk about what it's like for Samira as a female leader in our industry, as she shares some stories and some advice for aspiring female leaders. So I hope you all enjoy. Let's take charge. Yeah, thank you for coming on. Before we get into Enovix and your battery technologies and why smartphone, why consumer electronics, let's start with you. Your background and how you became the SVP of Product and Sales at Enovix.
Sure. So my career journey has been quite dynamic, and I'd say somewhat non-linear, Jamie, spanning multiple industries and several functional roles over the past 20 years or so. I started my career as an electrical engineer in the semiconductor space, where I really honed my skill set as a problem solver and learned about precision and paying attention to details and really developing a more methodical and analytical approach to problem solving. As my career progressed, I was drawn to the intersection of technology, business, and innovation, and that led me towards product management and business roles, where I always leveraged my love for technology and my technical background, but learned to marry that with my passion for customers and building products and really growing businesses and scaling businesses. Over the past 20 years, my career has spanned several industries. I've worked in semiconductor space, cloud compute, and now battery industry, all very different and all presented their own challenges and also opportunities for me to dive into brand new segments, continue to be curious, learn a lot, and power through and make it work. And I'd say I've also had a broad set of sort of functional roles from engineering, product management, product marketing, partnership, sales, and so on. And that experience has helped me build a holistic understanding of business landscape, from all the way from engineering intricacies to market dynamics and customer needs. And I think that all led me to Enovix and my role at Enovix as a leader on the product management side. And I recently take on the North America sales and application engineering and so on. And I love my role at Enovix because I get to sort of practice everything that I've learned in the last 20 years or so. And, I have a deep appreciation for technology innovation. I get to practice my strategic mindset in terms of the business growth. And I keep learning. I have to learn.
Nice. Very good. As well, very interested to hear about, what it's like for you as a female leader in the industry. We've had some great guests in the past to kind of share their perspectives. And also I understand you've got some advice for aspiring female leaders. We need more people like you. But before we do that, let's get into your technology at Enovix. So we've had a couple of former guests who focus on silicon technologies, albeit different technologies and different applications. But of course, you focus on consumer electronics and more specifically smartphones. So yeah, talk us through your kind of reasoning behind this and how you position yourselves as a business.
Yeah, let me start with the market size. I mean, smartphones are the largest portion of the battery market within the consumer electronics. It's roughly 1.2 billion smartphones shipped every year and growing. Essentially, that presented itself as a $12 billion battery TAM, total addressable market for us. at Enovix. I'd say, smartphone technologies over the last 20 years or so, they've advanced quite drastically, from the processor power and speed, to memory, to storage, to the displays, audio and cameras, etc. Everything has been advanced over the last 20 years or so, 2 decades. And that's primarily why we can do everything from our phones these days. We can do online shopping, to online banking, to ordering your food, to running multiplayer games and watching your favorite Netflix show on your phone from practically anywhere. The only component I'd say in the smartphones that has not advanced as much as the others is the battery. Over the years, the battery capacity has increased by a modest rate of about 3 to 4% year on year. And much of that growth has come by increasing the size of the battery. And the phones are running out of space. I mean, I can hardly hold my iPhone Pro Max in my hand or fit it in my pocket. So increasing the size of the battery is not an option to increase its capacity. And so battery is becoming a bottleneck for you to take advantage of all these advancements and technology advancements that have gone into the phone. Because if you run, if you play Fortnite on your phone, within an hour or so, either the brightness of your screen goes down, or you have to search for a plug and plug yourself to the wall. And so essentially it's not a mobile product at that point. So, with all of these advancements, because of the battery bottlenecks, you're not able to take advantage of all these, features and capabilities of your phone, and you're not getting your money's worth in some ways. And so, so with smartphones, and in addition to everything that I just talked about, with the rise of all these AI applications and Gen AI applications, and generally more power hungry, demanding applications like 4K video streaming and 8K video streaming, etc., this puts even more of a stress on the battery consumption. And so the gap is becoming even wider. And we did some benchmarking internally at Enovix, and we also commissioned a third-party company. And our analysis and the results showed that if you want to produce video content with AI, it basically consumes 50% more power than without running AI. Or even the most power optimized LLMs will be used, or running ChatGPT on your phone will drain your battery, and it would consume twice or more power than watching a YouTube on your phone. So this problem will continue to get worse with the new demanding applications, especially with the way we operate, and the newer generations. They want to consume and do everything on their phones, and the only way to come over that is to truly reinvent and fundamentally change the battery technology, and that's what Enovix is all about. So we have, redefined and reinvented the battery technology so that we can increase the capacity and get the battery ready for these future devices and applications.
Yeah, I'm interested to learn more about the actual solution it provides, because, as you say, in terms of the trends with people, first of all, using phones, I think all generations, but certainly millennials and Gen Z, and they're using it a lot. But then also, as you say, AI is trending way quicker than battery technologies. The battery just can't keep up with them, and we don't want to be carrying a laptop-sized mobile phone around to be able to use it, because you just see everyone on their phone all the time, on the subway, the metro, whatever, and they've got power packs. Power packs have become a whole new market because of this reason. People are using mobile phones more, and AI is zapping the batteries. So yes, interesting that you've
and in some parts of the world, and I'd say, I recently came back from Asia. Like, laptops are less and less used. Everybody's using their phone, and power banks. Everyone has multiple power banks in their backpacks because of the amount of time they spend on their phone. I have young kids, and They don't use the phone to make a phone call. They everything is with FaceTime or Zoom, or they're constantly playing games with their friends, and while they're on FaceTime with them at the same time and talking. So it's these use cases that are going to continue to change, and I'm going to put more stress on the power and the batteries of the future devices, especially smartphones.
Yeah, so it's almost like you have a backlog of text messages and WhatsApps and missed calls, but it's been used for everything else. So yeah, the trends keep changing. But in addition to smartphones, do you actually focus on any other, or is your technology applicable for like a kind of the EV toll space or the EV space, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our differentiation in our battery technology allows us to have to offer batteries with higher energy density, which is essentially higher capacity in a given volume. And so you can basically have a longer lasting battery on a single charge. And I can't think of a device that does not need that. So that's not just limited to the smartphones, right? And in fact, we have a strong pipeline of opportunities, and we're deeply engaged with customers across like smartwatch, fitness tracker, IoT, wearable applications, medical devices. Nowadays, there's many wearable medical devices. We've had some public announcements on our engagement with the U.S. Army for some of the wearable devices that the Army uses. And so the applications are endless, and we are working on with all of those customers. On the EV side, we recently, earlier this year, we made an announcement that we are developing a sort of like a proof of concept product for a leading automaker for the EV applications. And this is about developing our cell architecture. So while that's in very early stages, I think that expands a huge opportunity for us and down the road in the EV space. And so, yes, while we started with mobile, we're not limited to smartphones. Our view is that the smartphone applications have the most demanding requirements when it comes to battery. Everything from capacity, runtime, cycle life, and the lifespan of the battery to safety requirements and how fast you want to charge the battery, et cetera. It truly sets the bar. And our view was, from a go-to-market standpoint, we first go after that the highest bar, we make it work. And then once we have that, which we're getting really close, we can sweep the market on all the other applications. And that's been the go-to-market strategy for us.
Why silicon? And why silicon in terms of smartphones?
Yeah, so conventional lithium-ion batteries use graphite as the anode. At Enovix, we replaced that graphite with silicon. And the advantage of the silicon is actually twofold. Number one, it stores twice the amount of lithium. And by doing so, it can give you a higher capacity in a given volume, and it increases the energy density and the runtime on a single charge. The second benefit of using silicon is that it's a highly available ingredient and it's more sustainable. And so for us, basically, we are replacing graphite with silicon. Now, historically, the industry has struggled by using silicon in the anode. And in fact, as of very recently, you'll see some products that use 5 to 8%, maybe 10% silicon in the anode. And the problem with that is, the problem with silicon in general is that if you use it in the conventional battery architecture, it swells and it cracks. And so it has safety implications, and it just won't work. And the battery swells up and it bulges in your phone. And I guess the secret sauce, and the majority of our IP at Enovix, is about not the electrochemistry, but it's about the mechanical structure and the design of the battery. And we design it in such a way that we apply stack pressure on the battery so that it doesn't swell. So we alleviate these swelling and cracking issues by our architecture. And therefore, we can use 100% active silicon and offer these promising extended capacity and energy density for our batteries.
Great. And we've talked a little bit about consumers, but let's talk about your customers. So kind of what are the critical requirements that your customers particularly in the smartphone industry, have requested?
Yeah, so like I said, smartphone requirements are some of the hardest to meet. I'll start with the size. As I mentioned, the size of the smartphone cannot increase any further. In fact, it's already too big. And, the battery size cannot increase. So you have that limitation. So you got to fit more power in a limited size. And so that's one. The second thing is nobody likes to keep charging their phones. Ideally, you want to charge your phone right before going to bed, and then use it throughout the day. And I know for myself that never happens. I have to constantly charge my phone. So that longer lasting battery is another key requirement for smartphones. And we talked about applications, and especially as people use their phone, even without AI, as they use their phone for more business applications and Zooms and file sharing and such, like you need to charge your power, charge the battery even more. The other key requirement is how fast you can charge your phone. I don't know if it's happened to you. You're in the middle of a Zoom call and then you run out of battery and you charge it and you want it to charge as fast as possible so you can go back to your business. So that's another key requirement. It's also about cycle life and the lifespan of a battery. Nobody likes to have to upgrade their phone just because the battery no longer works. And then finally, safety. I have a 2-year-old who drops my phone, I want to say more than 100 times a day. And you don't want to have a leakage in the electrolyte. You don't want your phone to catch fire. So the safety requirements are very stringent. And depending on which smartphone OEM you work with, there are many, many different types of safety requirements for phones. You drop it, there's a tumble test, there's a shock test, there's an impact test. There's so many different types of safety tests. And so in our view, these are some of the hardest requirements to meet. And of course, there's a trade-off between all of everything that I talked about. You increase the capacity, your cycle life has to shrink. And there's all trade-offs between all of these parameters. So that's what I would say, the smartphone requirements are some of the hardest. And that's why we started focusing on meeting the harder requirements, thinking that once we have that, we can do well in other applications.
No, for sure. Good. A really good point as well with with children having access to phones these days. Now, obviously, I imagine your 2-year-old doesn't have their own phone, but yeah, as you said.
No, it's my phone, but somehow they manage to steal it and then drop it all the time,
But no, it's so true. And even as they get older and maybe they have their own, whatever age that's at, you want that to be safe. If it's going to be able to charge quicker, it shouldn't be at the cost of safety. So yeah, really good point. So where are you at with your technology then in terms of, increasing the capacity of the battery, the cycle life, and the fast charging capabilities?
Yeah, so our goal and what we are getting close to sample right now is to increase energy density and capacity without making compromise on all the other metrics. And that's the hard part. We are gearing towards meeting all the life cycle requirements that our phone customers have, having a fast charge at 2.5C and 3C charge rates while increasing the energy density and capacity. And we are getting ready to provide samples to our mobile customers, our first mobile grade samples in the next couple of months.
Brilliant. I read your CEO's article. He presented some nice, interesting figures in there and really, really promising data on there. So hopefully it does become a reality and these samples are successful and things like this.
Yeah, we're getting very close. It's been a lot of work and it's been very exciting as we gear up for these samples. We are very excited. We get a lot of good feedback from our customers and we are very deeply engaged with pretty much everyone, all the who's who in the smartphone industry, and it's been great. But it has its own challenges, and it's a lot of work, and that's, I guess, the big part of the culture of the company, being agile and moving fast and being able to pivot and respond quickly.
Very good. Let's move on to you as a female leader in our industry. You mentioned that you've worked in others. I mean, first of all, my question would be how is batteries different? Have you noticed a difference between the other industries you've worked in, and what is it like for you as a female leader in this space?
So to your first question, if the battery is different, I guess from my perspective, it's just like being in any other part of the tech industry. There's still not as much as you'd like to see diversity in the tech world, and I definitely see there's a lot of improvement, but we're not where we want to be. As a female leader in tech, I'd say my journey has been challenging, but also very exciting. I often find myself in a room full of people that don't share the same perspective as me, and don't look like me, and don't, we're very different. I'm often the only or one of the very few women in a room. But I'd say I've never seen that as a barrier. I've always seen it as an opportunity to push myself, to challenge myself, and also to pave the way for the future generation, for my two girls, and for all the newer generation that are interested in STEM and progressing their careers. I've also been very lucky at Enovix in that we have a very inclusive culture. Even though I don't look like the same as everybody else at the table, I've never felt like I'm different than any of my male counterparts. I've seen as a product leader, based on my expertise and my perspectives and what I add to the company and the impact I make. And I've never seen that, myself being a female leader as a setback in some ways. So we've been very lucky at Enovix. I've been fortunate that I've been able to lead with authenticity, humility, and being who I am instead of having to mold myself into someone else because that's the only recipe for success. So I'd say overall it hasn't been easy. It gets easier over time, and I've always seen it as an opportunity.
Do you think it's inclusivity has progressed? Has it got better from the start of your career to now?
Absolutely, and I think it's a collaborative effort on all fronts. I think the pool of talent, in tech, it's difficult because you always want to have talent where they can add value and they have the subject matter expertise. And if you don't have that pool of talent to pull from, it's harder. And I think the funnel of like gender diversity is increasing in the students that are coming out of college. So you have a bigger pool to take candidates from and grow them and develop them. But I've also seen a lot of improvement in terms of the way corporates are functioning and the opportunities they provide to female candidates. I'd say, I have 3 kids, and it's a wide gap. Whether one is 13 and one is 2. And I remember with my first daughter, there was no mother room in the company, and it was hard, and I had to leave the office and come back to my meetings. I was always running late, and I see that there's a lot more flexibility nowadays, even in the course of the last 13 years or so. So there's definitely a lot of improvement. I know that at Enovix, for example, all of our the hiring loops, whenever we want to hire a candidate, we need to have diversity in the panel that interviews the candidates and such. And I think when you have a sense of belonging, there's more likelihood that you're interested in a company, and then you develop your career within that company and you give back to that company. So I definitely see a lot of improvement over the years.
just picking up on a couple of things you said then, you feel like it's got easier, it gets easier, whether that's because it's becoming more inclusive or you're just used to the maybe the discrimination or the or some of the behavior. That's, I guess, two slightly different elements. A really good piece of research currently being conducted by a previous guest, Adriana from Morrow Batteries, is on parental leave, or a leave of absence affecting your career. And yeah, as you said, you've had 2 children, and the challenges there of having to maintain a career, and does that stunt your abilities to be promoted and things like this. It's not necessarily your ability to do the job; it's more how that is seen by management, and who do they invest in. So she's doing an amazing piece of research right now, and I think something that is there's a huge imbalance in Scandinavia. It's better because it's kind of more 50-50 between the parents, but then typically it's more women that have that leave of absence and maybe have to sacrifice on their career, which is unfair.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the report. I would be very much interested in reading it. I'd say that from my perspective, first, we are becoming a lot more inclusive. That doesn't mean that there's no more challenges. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. But I definitely see that, in the companies that I have been a part of, maybe I've been very lucky in that there has been metrics and there has been the effort to ensure that there's more inclusivity, not just from a gender perspective, but to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. I've also been very lucky with my bosses and my managers and my mentors and everybody who I learned from. I remember this is very early on when I was a product manager, and at the time I worked for a company called Theros, and we had just got acquired, and this was a big room, and I was probably the most junior product manager at the time, sitting at the end of the corner. And, especially with men, sometimes it's very hard to get a word in. And I was very shy and new and not confident. And I remember my boss at the time in a big room, he asked for people's opinion, and everybody started talking over each other. And he made everybody quiet, and he said, "I want to hear from Samira." And I was sitting in the back, and I started talking, and I learned from him, and I've been paying that forward, not just with female, but anybody who has a lower voice, anybody who's more new, anyone who has a different perspective. So I think we learn from each other, and the more we implement inclusivity at the leadership level, it just sets the tone and sets a good example for everybody else to operate by the same playbook. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we will continue to see improvements over the years. And you need that support, not just from the corporations, but also from your families. And I know that with some cultures and some families, that's been more difficult. I personally have been very lucky and fortunate on that front.
A great story, and one that all leaders should listen to. So yeah, thank you for sharing. But what message would you like to send to aspiring female leaders?
In a world where there's still stereotypes and biases, it's a very it could get discouraging, and you could be discouraged, and it's hard. It's easier to give up. And I'd say to all aspiring female leaders, and especially the ones that are newer in their career, don't give up. Don't give up. Push through and challenge yourself. Take risks. And along the way, I guess, build your own village. Create your own supporting community. It could be your mentors. It could be friends. It could be family. And allies that basically support you throughout your career. And the meanwhile, build your expertise. At the end of the day, you have to sit at a table and own it, and feel good and confident that I'm sitting there because of my merits. And you just need that support and need that mentorship to get through the difficult times. But ultimately, you need to build that expertise and whatever you're passionate about. And I guess the above all, I guess. Just know that your voice matters, and always speak up.
Amazing, very powerful. Whilst we're on the subject of of adding value and giving back. I know something you've done a lot in your career is build high-performing teams. So what do you think are the essential characteristics of a high-performance product team?
Yeah, for product management and generally product teams, I think it boils down to, I want to say 4 characteristics. First and foremost, customer obsession, customer focus. I use some of the Amazon lingo from when I was there, but I think that's one of the most important characteristics of a product team. You need to ultimately build a product that solves a real need. And for that, you need to stay close to your customers. You need to understand their needs, and you need to anticipate the future problems they're going to run into, and you got to solve it for them. And that comes only with customer focus and customer obsession and understanding the customers. The second one I'd say is cross-functional collaboration. As a product team, you're sort of quarterbacking everyone, all the interdisciplinary the groups within a company. We work with finance teams, manufacturing, engineering, the leadership, sales, and applications, etc. And sometimes there are many opposing views, especially if you're working with a bunch of strong-minded characters. And aligning all the teams and getting them to sometimes maybe disagree and commit and focus on the same common goal is one of the most important jobs of a product team. And that's key. And that comes with, having really good and solid communication skills. The third one is about moving fast and being agile. And I get to exercise that a lot at Enovix these days. And it's about, customers move, their requirements change, markets change, market dynamics change. Your competition is moving. So you always have to be on your toes. You got to experiment with new ideas, and you got to fail, and you got to fail fast, and you got to pivot. And all of this has to be faster than your competition. So that's another key characteristic of a good and high-performing product team. And like I said, we exercise that on a daily basis at Enovix. And I think that the fourth one, and maybe this is the underlying all of this, is resilience. Because, if you work on a really cool product like we are doing at Enovix, it's really hard. You're really solving very difficult problems. And there's setbacks, there's obstacles, there's many moments where you feel like, this is not going to work. And having the resilience to work through this adversity and adapt and continue to maintain focus, I think is key for a high performance product team. Of course, there's many more, but I'm just going to focus on these top 4. These are my top 4.
No, that's great. Really good. Thank you. I've just got a couple more questions before I let you go, Samira. And I appreciate you coming on today, especially because I know you're a little bit under the weather as well. So I appreciate you kind of...
well, I haven't coughed yet, so that's a good thing.
Don't jinx it. So just to finish on Enovix, what's coming up? What's happening over the next 6 to 12 months? And what are you most excited about?
So it's going to be, I think, the most pivotal year for Enovix. What's happening is our, we built a manufacturing facility in Penang, and we set the record time for building a brand new manufacturing facility. Penang is up and coming, and so the facility is up and running, and the lines are going through the final checks, and we are expecting our first samples out of Penang very soon. With that, and then our customers and us getting ready to sample our first mobile grade products to more and more customers, I think the next 6 to 12 months are going to be very, very busy and also very exciting. And my team plays a very pivotal role in that time, because we have to sort of support our customers as they go through their technical validation and product qualifications, and provide us with the feedback, and then any changes that we need to make to support them inside. So the first 6 to 12 months with the manufacturing facilities being all up and running, and our customers getting ready for receiving our samples, I think it's going to be the most pivotal moment for us as we transition from what I call the Enovix 1.0 R&D phase to Enovix 2.0, which is really the commercialization and scale-up phase. And that to me is the most exciting part.
It is, and good luck. I mean, all the applications, there's a real importance, real need in the market for those things. I think certainly smartphones, as we've been discussing, there's huge requirements in that field, and the trend is only going one way. So yeah, we need to get rid of power packs basically.
And the good thing is most of our smartphone customers also have smartwatches and tablets and other applications. So we are excited to get into the smartphones and then expand into other products.
Yeah, for sure. But no, good luck for the kind of next year ahead. We've got a new closing tradition just from the past 2 podcasts. We've got a former guest, so it isn't the previous one, so you can't work it out. Basically, it's from a previous one. Has asked a question. It's a nice simple one for today. So the question is, what has been the biggest setback in your career to date, and what did you learn from it?
What has been? That's a good one. I need to think about it, Jamie. You caught me off guard. Setback in my career.
I guess setback, or maybe like a trauma or challenge, or something that maybe didn't go to plan, and what you learned from it. Because typically, we do learn from failures as opposed to successes.
Yeah, I guess a setback was, this is a couple of years ago. I was in the cloud computing space, which is really hot these days. And I was really enjoying my job and my work and my team and everything else. And I basically took another opportunity at Meta at the time. And primarily because I had worked with the same team before in a past life. And I was really excited about the mission that we were going to drive, and which was all about connecting the unconnected. So I really, for the first time, I decided to focus on a mission and not on a revenue generating product and growth. The setback was, that was very challenging times for Meta. The day that I joined the company, the mission of the group changed. And so my role moved like the day that I joined the company. And, and I left a really, really good job and a good team and for that. And I'd say it was a setback. Had I known, I would have probably not made that move. But I think, now that I look back at it, throughout the year that I was at Meta, I met some of the most incredible people in my career, some of the smartest people in the industry. I've built a community that, we're still in touch. Every month or so, we get together on happy hours and we help each other. We constantly are finding each other, our team members new jobs if they need to, and we are supporting each other. And it was one of the best company cultures that I've ever had to work at. So, and I learned a great deal from that, and I'm applying a lot of that at Enovix. So it was a setback, but with every setback, I think at the end, there's a silver lining. And that's how I view my Meta experience and Meta days. So if I could go back, I would probably not change it again, and I would still go through it and go through the learning, and even though some pieces of it was painful.
No, exactly. All things happen for a reason. You wouldn't be where you are today if that didn't happen. So it kind of affects decision making. So, well, apologies for putting you on the spot, or apologies on behalf of the previous guests. The previous guest who asked that question, able to listen to this and send you a quick note on LinkedIn to say sorry.
Well, no, that was good. It made me think.
No, you dealt with it very well, and yeah, thank you for coming on today, Samira. Really enjoyed the conversation and excited to see where your technology can go. So yeah, thank you again, and yeah, good luck for the year ahead.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited. I'm very optimistic about the role that Enovix is going to play in the battery industry and clean tech industry. And thank you for the opportunity, Jamie.